If you want to catch lightning, you must build a tall enough building to connect with the clouds. If you want to catch innovation, you must build a space to connect with innovators who, like the clouds, can never be captured, but perhaps can be given an outlet to release their energy. But ask yourself, if lightning can only happen in the right environment, when the clouds are pregnant and bursting at the seams to release their energy and revitalize the earth, have we created the necessary ecosystem for innovation to strike Ottawa? Innovatica is an idea about the coming together of diverse talents to rediscover what is possible in Ottawa. Like the forces which are manifest when hot air and cold air come together to create a storm front. Innovatica is the idea that we are in an age where all manners of combination and integration of various skills and resources can achieve the unexpected, amazing, and previously thought impossible. Innovatica and the idea of a Canadian Centre for Innovation supports our belief at Prototype D that all of this is possible within a Canadian context. From design to manufacturing, we are in a perfect moment to re-engineer our understanding of how we work and prosper in Canada, as we see small towns struggling for relevance and seeking new ways to survive, while large cities are beginning to struggle under the growing weight of their infrastructural needs. The time is now for a new method of collaboration and integration of skills. For this to happen, the skills of thinking between design, making, technology, art, mathematics, social sciences, and skills development need to drift closer together to allow for the possibility of overlap. The time is right for this to happen not just in Ottawa, but in all Canadian cities, and for a broad network of different centers to be established to allow this overlapping to occur and to develop new ideas and opportunities. The spirit of Innovatica is already happening. We believe that it is the perfect time for movements and ideas like Innovatica to be brought to the next level through integration with large and ambitious projects like the City of Ottawa's Innovation Complex, as well as small and modest projects like the integration of makerspaces into libraries and schools. All that is required now is careful planning to ensure that the right mix of different individuals, skills, and organizations can be skillfully combined, and that we have the will to do so. Like the strike of lightning, this action will yield both unpredictable yet powerful results.
Prototype D went out and connected with our broad network of entrepreneurs and innovators already working within the city. It was important for us to develop a vision that captures the best of the ideas and focuses on what entrepreneurs really need. We really wanted to find out what innovation meant to the people of Ottawa.
Innovation has occurred usually when you bring something together from two completely unrelated situations, environments, careers, what have you.
To me, innovation is really about creating value by exploiting some form of change, whether it's technical or social.
Innovation to me means not about necessarily reinventing the wheel and thinking of a brand new idea, but it could also be putting your own spin on things.
The whole idea of the isolated genius is kind of towards an end. It really is about filmmakers working with community groups, working with designers, working with industrial designers and architects, and then coming together to collaborate, and in that way build something up.
Sometimes something just sparks and you get an idea and go, wait a second, I can use that in what I'm doing. Or here's something from what I'm doing that you can use in what it is you do.
Innovation needs to happen in a way where people can come together and they can share ideas and they can collaborate and they can see the potential for a new opportunity.
You need to find, as you grow as an entrepreneur, you need to find people who are willing to mentor you at a level that is valuable to you.
I think exposure drives innovation, and personally I think in most of the projects I work on, I try to be as exposed as possible so that I can be as innovative as I can be.
There's nothing good about having a city where there's two absolutely fantastically able people that don't know that the other exists. They have to come together.
I think that there is a lot of potential in Ottawa. First of all, there are a lot of schools here with art programs. There are a lot of art schools, like separate art schools, museums, and then there's architecture school. And then out of all that, out of the education systems, there are a lot of artists, musicians included. And then people who, like musicians, graffiti, installations. But I feel like there's no center that there's to grasp all that talent. It's always just scattered. Like you don't know what's the scene. Nothing's happening.
I think when you move from a concept to a first prototype, you have to have some sort of embodiment of the idea. So you need a place for tools. Coffee shops are great for meetings and Wi-Fi and talking about projects, but when you want to get to the next stage and actually build something, you need the tools.
If you've gone through and done your university training and then you get out into the real world, all of a sudden you have access to nothing. And so having that kind of transition space would really be a big leg up for especially for young aspiring artists.
Providing services for people who have ideas, who have some innovation, and helping them get through those next steps of actually taking something from being a spark or an idea to an actual product or service that can be taken advantage of by the marketplace.
Let's give them a space where they can actually take their ideas and make something with them.
I really think that the people of Ottawa are just waiting to be inspired by something big.
We developed this vision that we believe captures the essence of what an innovation complex must deliver.
Is Ottawa ready for an innovation complex?
We have amazing cultural institutions.
We can keep the innovation here and we can grow world-class companies out of Ottawa.
The National Gallery, we've got all these other museums, we've got science and technology, we've got 2 universities.
We have a diversity of creative and technical talent. You're passionate about an idea and you're thinking about it all the time. But at some point you really need to get that feedback. You need to bounce the ideas off of other people.
The physical space is really important.
A constant respect and a constant support for its artists.
And to allow the real innovation that's going on not to just stay the way it is now behind closed doors.
The coming together of people is critical.
Because innovation is where everything will happen.
The idea might come when I'm wandering off to the coffee machine with somebody.
We have a history and a legacy of, like I mentioned, technical ingenuity.
I've got a problem or I've got a solution and I'm trying to make the connections to actually turn that into something useful.
A space I would use tomorrow is a space I would visit regularly just to try to bump shoulders and meet different people and try to kind of engage myself in the community that I work in.
Ultimately, any innovation complex, it won't be just contained to one building.
Having it so that people can get there via public transit, I think, is really important.
Ideally, it would foster a whole neighborhood. You'd have an innovative neighborhood, a creative neighborhood.
Around the city center area might be a good place.
That there's other facilities around it that can be used by the public, fabrication places, meeting places.
It's not something that has to be necessarily right downtown.
And then I would say even Vanier. I would say Vanier, there's some spaces there that I think would be very conducive.
When innovation taps into those things, into that local component, into kind of that grassroots component, that's when it becomes really, really interesting.
But if it's in the middle of a busy area and people can go through, even if they're not looking for art, they're gonna recognize something. And
it's now a question, how can a center like this tie maybe more of these things together?
So you have to have people showing what they've done in that place.
We heard time and time again that it can't be another cubicle farm. It has to be something different, something new, and not just like the other government buildings around town.
I think the idea of having a common building or a common community is good, but the architecture of the building itself influences how people communicate.
It needs to be collaborative, it needs to be open, it needs to be transparent.
You want to just hang out sometime. And then sometimes when you're hanging out, that's when you get the ideas.
But transparent doesn't mean just glass.
The way a place is designed can make it much more conducive to the types of activities it wishes to support.
I need to sew I need to sew some stuff. I need to have the sewing machine. Well, okay, I can sew a little bit and then take a break for 2 hours, do some for 2 hours while I can go do my graphic design stuff. Maybe even have like a storage area where you don't have to lug your stuff all the time.
But also I think you need to make sure the space is designed for people who want to work on their projects in a more individual basis. So having a balance, I think, is important. Open space, but also perhaps closed studios.
So we've developed 7 key spaces for this innovation complex to contain: wonder, resources, change, connection, showcase, business, and solitude.
There needs to be a showcase area where people can then, even if you're not part of the innovation complex, that is always changing, always dynamic.
I think access to tools is something that is particularly important. For many independent inventors or innovators, they just don't often have access to the types of tools that can really help them build that first prototype.
It would make it a lot easier to have everything in one place.
People all across Canada and all around the world can get a sense of the kind of things that are going on in Ottawa, and I think that it could become a real attraction.
It has to have the same amount of like workshops, and then it also has to have like the fun areas. It has to be work and play, maybe 50-50.
I would say a creative space is one where it's dynamic. It has to change. It has to be able to be one thing one day and something else completely the other.
And then you just walk a few meters to some room and you get creative again.
So I really believe that you need quiet spaces within centres.
It needs to be flexible enough that it can continually evolve. And yet at the same rate, it needs to illustrate where it is at that point in time.
And I believe a space that drives innovation is a space that, where all these niches might find an opportunity to come together.
They can just use that as the springboard for new innovation, for new technology. And I think that that's what's critical too, is that innovation has a cost component.
To incorporate residences, to incorporate shops, to incorporate retail would really be an innovative way to offset the cost for entrepreneurs.
If innovation becomes totally financial and unfeasible, it's not that innovative anymore.
I've got a problem or I've got a solution, and I'm trying to make the connections to actually turn that into something useful.
The diversity that the innovation complex would attract would be perfect for new immigrants.
Canada as a whole, I think we have to get out of the mindset that that we can't compete on the world stage, and that we have to build something to a certain level and then sell it off if we want it to grow.
People will be happy to support and will be happy enough to work inside it and help each other.
No, I think it's important to work with other creators. Yeah, it does create competition, but competition is healthy. Otherwise, how are you gonna create a competitive market and have people strive their best and push forward?
So from my perspective as a developer, I would love to move into this neighborhood. Wherever the innovation complex is somewhere where I would want to put my money. It's somewhere where I would want to live.
I could take my kids there to see what's happening in other places of the world or kind of recent developments. I think that's great.
It's sort of like a reminder that the sky really is the limit.
There's so much innovation going on in Ottawa right now that we're just not recognizing it. It's happening in people's garages, it's happening in their basements, and it's happening. There's so many entrepreneurs who are doing things that you just never see. And there's little glimpses of it. People get a chance to showcase it sometimes through art festivals and fashion shows and design charrettes and things like that. But we need a way to bring this really out into the open, and we need a way to celebrate it.